What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. We're back. We're officially back. Everything is going to be back to normal. Mike's
we had to get that adventure out of the way, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, this is like literally the first day I'm going without pain at all day.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start some fireworks then.
Yeah.
Fireworks early. Well, it'll be late by the time you guys hear it, but it's before 4th of July right now. So, but when you hear it, it'll be after. So, either way, the fireworks don't work, but we're going to light them anyway.
Yep.
Kapow, kablooey, yay, Mateo.
Yeah, I can't believe I got that injury like right at the start of recording the 400 episode stuff. That sucked.
That's how things go, man.
Yeah.
It's the way it works for us.
Right, I shouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, you were... It wasn't even an injury. And I know we're fucking old men at this point and we're basically falling apart. I don't know about you, but my body's held together with a shoestring and bubble gum.
Yeah.
But, I think in this case you were hit with some high technological instrument that rendered your back useless. You know, like they've got the heart attack guns. You've got the sciatic gun. And they've got it aimed on you, and they're just like, bah, bah, bah.
Yeah, maybe, dude, because this is an injury that it's like kind of like a permanent thing, but you can piss it off. And I've had it happen before. Like I have a standing desk. There's been plenty of shows I've had to record standing up because of this like, old injury. But when it happens, it just gets injured, and then it hurts for like a week. And it's a pinched nerve is what it is. This time I just pinched the nerve. It was just permanently pinching it. I ended up in the emergency room, and it was not fun. They were like giving me shots of like all these different painkillers, and they're just laughing. They're like, "This isn't going to help you, dude." I was like, "Oh,
what bastards! This isn't going to help you. We're going to shoot you up anyway."
Yeah,
take it and like it.
There was one nurse there. He's like, "Yeah, I've pinched my sciatic nerve." He's like, "Maybe this will help you, but I don't think it's gonna."
Yeah, I've been there. I mean, I've been dealing with back pain for like 15 years now as well. Honestly, I injured it shoveling snow one time in my mid-20s, and I've been fucked ever since.
Really?
Yeah, but and it comes and it goes, like you said. And one time I fucking threw my back out for a full day bending over just to get a pair of pants out of the bottom drawer of my dresser. That's literally all I did. I bent down to pick them up, and my back went out, and I fucking died for a day. Could not do anything.
There's like 3 ways to really injure the sciatic nerve. Like I looked it up on YouTube, and the doctors confirmed exactly what it was. So this YouTube video has a 3D rendering of what happens, and mine's basically called a Lombard injury, I guess. It like my spine will slide forward and just pinch the nerve, like at the very lower part of my back.
Yep. My
wife says it's because I bend down to pick up stuff like a whore, which I probably do. And I've literally pinched my sciatic nerve.
Like a whore? Like what? You stick your ass up when you bend over?
Straight legged, yeah. So I've literally pinched my side. It's not throwing my back out. It's pinching the nerve, like picking up a grocery bag, picking up my shoes. So it's just a matter of like bending down. Now I'm just, no longer mentally an old man. I'm officially, physically an old man.
Yeah. And that concludes getting old with the Whatcast.
But yes, we're going to be back on schedule. Everything's going to be back on track.
Yeah, join us next week when we talk about how to recoup from hip surgery.
But I wanted to come back with something fun. And the first time I saw and heard about this creature, I instantly wanted to cover it on the show. But alas, once again, it turned out to be something I couldn't do too much second sourcing on. Not that the info or articles or reports were invalid. It's just that it's another one of these stories that when you research, it reveals like one story, the same story, But in this case, it's one that's been fragmented and reconstructed and told over the past 50 years. Again, it's not that the source material is unreliable. It's just from a long time ago. I even went into the Wayback Machine to find the original newspaper articles on this, only find that the archives of the newspaper I was looking at only went back as far back as 1997. And so there was no luck in reading the original articles. Nonetheless, this report is verified by multiple police departments, reported by local newspapers, and witnessed by over 5 people. So I looked as much as I could. I pieced together the story the best I could. But maybe this is what happens when you come across one of these, our favorites, one of these one-off cryptids that's not widely reported on. Like the Dover Demon was only seen once, maybe twice, right, Mike? But it's been covered by damn near everybody. Everybody who's doing stuff like this has covered the Dover Demon. And this cryptid has not. So we'll now enter, this is his actual title, the Indescribable Octoman.
Ooh, that sounds like a comic book character.
It does.
But I also feel like by saying it's indescribable and then following it up with Octoman, you're kind of describing it.
Yeah. There's some descriptions that, like, I don't know. We'll get into the description that somebody gives, and I have some questions about that description for you. So the best I can figure with the information I was able to dig up on this dude was that on January 28th, 1959 in Ohio, the Claremont County and the New Richmond police received a frantic emergency call from a man claiming to have seen something emerging from a nearby lake, approximately 4 miles from New Richmond. What made this call weird was when he was asked why he would call 911 on the local wildlife, he said that what he saw wasn't an animal. In fact, what he saw was so fucking weird that he couldn't describe it at all. Now, for some reason, both departments that received this call, they didn't take the call too seriously, obviously. Somebody can't even describe something that they're trying to report until they received a second call. A truck driver was so startled at what he saw on a bridge crossing the Little Miami River that he pulled into the first gas station he saw to call 911 and report what he had seen. Again, he could not describe what he saw. Not for lack of seeing it, he just didn't know how to describe it. I heard a quote from this guy. Again, I couldn't find the original newspapers. I watched YouTube videos. I listened to podcasts that covered this thing. So I pulled information from everywhere that I could. But he was supposedly quoted saying something to the effect of, I don't know what it was. I can't say what it was. All I know is that we don't have that shit where I'm from. And I want to get the fuck out of this area as fast as I can. So,
yes. And who can blame him there?
Right. Now, Mike, have you ever had any friends or relatives or known anybody that's like a long haul truck driver?
No, I don't have friends or relatives. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Do you know? Have you ever had any friends or relatives or known somebody who's like a long haul trucker?
Just that AD dude that we had on the show.
Right.
Yeah, other than him, no.
What's your thoughts on truck drivers as witnesses as far as reporting stuff like this goes? I mean, these are the people driving all the
I don't know, man. I would say, like, and I'm not saying this to disparage truck drivers at all. But I don't necessarily think that maybe a daytime sighting, but even then it would depend on what they were doing, how long they've been driving. You know, I've gone on plenty of long drives, like, you know, through multiple states in one day. And I know, like, after a while you just kind of start to like zone out, I guess. I've even driven, like, you know, with minimal sleep and like start hallucinating while I'm driving almost, and, you know, not quite like reality is bending or anything, but like I'll misinterpret what I'm seeing, and then like I realize what it was. Like, for instance, one time I remember I was coming out of Illinois going into Indiana. I was on my way back from Illinois, and I was driving, and I hadn't slept the night before, and I was driving, and I remember seeing this pickup truck in front of me, and it looked like it had this big, like, mushroom sculpture in the back of its truck. And I'm like, what the fuck is that thing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, to me, it looked exactly like like a giant mushroom that you'd see like at a theme park or something, like as part of a Alice in Wonderland display, like the classic mushroom with the spots on it, bright colored. And then as I get closer, it's not even remotely a mushroom or really even mushroom shaped. It was like a bunch of old, like, I don't know, like gas tanks or I don't know, some sort of metal tanks that were just kind of stacked up on the back of this truck. And I'm like, wow, I should not be driving. So at that point, I pulled over and made somebody else drive because I realized I'm fucking hallucinating, seeing weird shit because I've been driving so long with no sleep.
Right.
And so that's my long-winded, rambly way of saying it depends on their route and how they've been rested and everything. I don't necessarily think just because you're out there on the road all the time that you have any, that your word stands up any more than anybody else's word.
Right. Maybe saying their word stands up more than anybody else's is weird, but I think they're great witnesses. I like hearing stories from them. These are the people driving all the weird back roads at all hours. They have a more likely of a chance to see something weird compared to our daily transits of work and store and home and work and store and home.
Yeah, and I guess if you're looking at it that way, then you're right, they would have a better chance because they're out there driving at all hours. So if there's going to be some weird, wacky shit wandering across a backcountry highway, then they're going to be the ones to see it. I don't necessarily think that they're the individual as a witness is any more reliable than any other witness, really,
Well, this second call got the authorities' attention. Now, it's unknown which police department received this second call. The article seems to mention something about code names or withholding names of personnel, like referring to one of the departments as Station X and not really naming some of the dispatchers who received the calls. But whoever it was that received the second call decided to contact the neighboring Hamilton County Police to see if they had received any similar calls or reports. But after some discussion, both departments dispatched units to check the area at around 4 a.m. After searching around for 2 hours, they found nothing. But interestingly, during their search, all the street lights that ran along Kellogg Street from the Lunken Airport to Coney Island went out all at the same time. That's 4.1 miles of streetlights that went out all at once.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that mentions about that, which I'll mention now. They said that in one of these first articles, it mentions that the police mentioned that string of lights are on two separate circuits. So if one went out, it shouldn't have affected the other.
And I would imagine if one of the circuits went out, it wouldn't just be the streetlights that were affected.
Right. So all the officers started to return to their respected police departments and stations, but some of the officers continued searching with the streetlights going out and the reports that they got. They were afraid that somebody could have crashed and kind of like I don't know, maybe been ejected into the lake and was trying to get out. So some of them stayed behind to keep an eye out and keep looking. Now, this is where the research got a little weird. Everything I was able to find says that the first report of this Octoman comes from our first caller. But in the next sentence, it says that the first mention of Octoman comes from these series of articles. So after reading everything I could find, and like I said, watching some videos and stuff, it very much seems like the newspaper was following the story from the very start. They knew about it from the first call. They probably had a police scanner, right, Mike? Listening for shit like most.
I mean, you'd have to think so. How else are they gonna be at the scene when shit goes down?
Right. Those two calls came on the 28th, because on the 29th, the next day after these two calls, there was a newspaper article titled, "What is it? Monster churns up the Ohio. Anyone missing? An indescribable monster that swims," which mentions the first and second calls. It mentions the lights going out. And the next day, the paper featured another article called "Driver Swears It Happened. River Monster Takes a Stroll on Bridge." It also states that reports of the same creature had come in from Cincinnati, New Richmond, Claremont, and Hamilton counties overnight. This included a sighting by a man who wished to remain anonymous, only going by scientist, said, while driving across the Licking River, a creature leapt up onto the bridge. And this is where we get a little bit more detailed description of this thing. He says, quote, "It was large, not a dog or a cat. It leapt in front of my car and was taller than my auto. When I looked in the rearview mirror, it was walking along the guardrail. It was 3 to 4 times bigger than a man and much bulkier. I have an eye and a mind for dimensions, and it was huge." So that was kind of weird to hear. If this thing's being described as an Octoman, I definitely wasn't thinking of something gigantic.
Yeah, if he's saying 3 to 4 times taller, that's like potentially over 20 feet tall.
Right. And
that dwarfs Bigfoot. Like, you don't hear anything. The biggest Bigfoot sightings you hear about are 12-footers. And even though that's few and far between, this thing is maybe over 20 feet tall.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did some show art for it when I first read about it. I wanted to draw the creature from the descriptions that I came across of, and I sent it to you, Mike. Just imagine that thing being 17, 22 feet tall. Another witness report comes from a young lady who said she saw the creature in a creek near the St. Thomas pumping station on the Ohio River in Kentucky. She is the first person to liken the creature to an octopus. I didn't find this quote. I found this quote from one place, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. But she says, quote, "It was like an octopus. It went up and then it went down." So
in the water, I'm assuming she means?
I guess so. I was going to say, Mike, is that a hillbilly description of the fluctuating motions of an octopus? Like,
I don't know. And why asking me if that's just because I live in a rural area? Come on.
Yes, sir. That's why I'm asking.
You're painting with a broad brush here. It went up and went down. That's a weird one, man. I don't know. I would assume that since she saw it in the water, that she saw it come up out of the water and then go back down. That would be my guess anyway, but fucked if I know.
But
man.
Why say octopus? I don't know. That's
tentacles.
Yeah, apparently it has them. If that's I guess that's what she means.
I mean, really, when you see a tentacle, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Yeah, a giant squid, to me. Yeah.
Squid, octopus. To a lot of people, the two are synonymous.
Yeah.
But those people are wrong.
Now, that's all we have on Octoman until ufologist and Bigfoot researcher Dennis Pilch published a book called Bigfoot, Tales of Unexplained Creatures in 1978, where he recounts a couple of sightings made, and one of them by a woman in Covington, Kentucky in 1959, when all of this originally happened, where we get the best description of Octoman yet. She said it had a lopsided chest, gray skin, it had tentacles, and rolls of flesh leading to a featureless like skull. So
featureless like skull?
Yeah. Like a fat celluloid.
What a weird... That's so weird.
Right? Another book, the Bigfoot Case Book, written by Janet and Colin Board, written in 1982, mentions a report that mirrors a classic Octoman sighting. In 1959, again, the same year all this happened, a motorist named George Wagner said he saw a huge two-legged creature cross a bridge over the Ohio River near Covington, Kentucky, like the lady's last story.
Seems like Kentucky has a lot of weird cryptid stuff.
It sure did. There's a podcast that I listened to in trying to get information on this, and one of those guys, I'll put a link for the episode of this podcast in our show notes. But the little Miami rivers where the Loveland frogs were seen.
Yeah, and also Kentucky, just over the Ohio border, was the Hopkinsville Goblins.
Right.
And I know there's a cave where there were three-toed footprints found, also in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of wacky stuff. What's going on in Kentucky? It's also the home of the Paranormal Museum.
It sounds like it should be.
Yeah, so a lot of cool shit in Kentucky, man.
Yeah, I really wanted to get this book by Dennis Pilch. I found it. I was able to find it, but it's a little expensive, and I don't even mind that. I really want to get it if it has an Octoman sighting in it, but it's like it's a specialty order book. It's going to take a while to get here if I do get it. So I don't know, Mike, maybe I'll send you the link and have you grab it and read it. It's not too long, but it's a cool 1978 fucking nice cryptozoology book.
We'll put it in the next book order.
Yeah.
Thank you again, patrons.
Yeah, we got to say that's been really cool. Like one of the things that Mike's always wanted to do is be able to buy all the books he's wanted to on this stuff to do research for shows. That's Mike's specialty. He's good at researching. But I mean, with our Patreon now, he's like a kid in a candy store. Whenever we can, I'll tell him, dude, go buy all the books you want. It's fucking great. So thank you guys.
It really is. Yeah, it's that. It's really come in handy to, when we're hard up for, show material, I guess. And I'm like, oh, look, I've got this stack of books that our wonderful patrons just bought us. So now I can go through this stack of books and pick something to do. And it's awesome. So seriously, thank you guys.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cool shit planned. A lot of weird stuff to talk about coming up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Octoman. He wasn't seen again. It's just this hulking thing described as having tentacles. Now, for my notes here, I have thoughts. I wrote, what the fuck? Because this is a gnarly description, dude. I instantly thought that like there was an ancient one lost in the woods and that had to be in water or something. 15 to 20 something feet tall.
Right.
With tentacles and like just a fleshy bulb.
Yeah. I mean, if it was in the woods and not in the water, I would say it was Shub-Niggurath.
Right.
But since it's in the water, who the fuck knows what it is? I don't know. It's so scary. I don't like it. Yeah.
Like I said, when I was reading about this, there's a couple artists' depictions, and just the title Octoman, I pictured something as big as an octopus, maybe as big as a man.
But yeah, right? I wasn't expecting giant monstrosity.
Yeah. I actually drew, testing out a new pen I got, like a comparison of a normal-sized person to this Octoman. And it's nightmare-inducing.
Yeah, it is. Terrifying. If I saw that, I feel like that's one of the things that if you actually witnessed, it would induce madness because of how fucking wacky and crazy it is. Like, how can you rationalize that?
Right? Like that, something that big would kind of shake the ground, probably, as it stomped along.
Yeah, if not shake the ground, you'd at least, feel it in some way.
Right. It's a fucking extra big armsy from the forest. Anybody who plays that knows what I'm talking about. Miss Brandy knows what I'm talking about. It's just a goddamn nightmare. It's just my hair would turn white. I would fart and then die of a heart attack per usual.
Yeah. Screw fight or flight. I'm just imploding.
Well, doing research for this Octoman, it's such a weird fucking entity, but it did remind me of a story that we covered a while ago, and I wanted to just do a refresher. One of the weirder things that we've covered is Octoman. That's just bizarre, it being so big and like we're talking about. But do you remember what I guess is now known as Octosquatch?
So when I saw the name Octosquatch, I instantly got excited. I'm like, oh shit, what is Octosquatch? And then as soon as I looked it up, I saw the picture and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that picture. But yeah, I vaguely remember talking about it. I remember the image more than I remember the story.
Right. I think it was like the strangest aliens ever encountered. You know, I mean, and it's just one of these things that falls into an alien category, because what else would you call it? Like, there's two Bigfoot books that had Octoman encounters in it, which that's clearly not a Bigfoot, but they threw it in there anyway, which is cool. But I fucking love Octosquatch. He lives in my fucking dreams. I love that fucking thing. Feeds me cold grapes with one arm and strokes my hair with another.
Ooh. So you're cheating on the sharks now? Are we adding hairy octopods to your fetish list?
Apparently all sea creatures could just come get it.
Oh shit, you hear that, barracudas?
Oh yeah, gentle now.
Ooh,
gentle.
Barracuda.
But yeah, like I said, just in case any of you dear listeners do not remember the glory of Octosquatch, I'm going to tell it to you now. The summer of 1961 in Spain, 29-year-old truck driver Archimedes Sanchez and his riding partner were taking it nice and slow through the dangerous and tricky roads of the Basque Mountains in the northern province of Vizcaya in Spain. As they were trekking along, Archimedes there slammed on the brakes as they came up on a creature standing on the edge of the side of the road, on the opposite side of them. A creature that he described as being 4 feet tall, and he says it was downright an octopus, but it was covered in rust-colored hair. So Archimedes, in amazement, got out of the truck to clearly observe this being. And he said the creature shielded its big eyes from the truck's headlights and just stood there. And he says they stood there looking at each other for several minutes. And as he stood there looking at this bizarre creature, the reality of a monster standing some 12 feet away from him set in. So he called for his driving buddy to get him a weapon from the truck, which he replied, fuck no. He wasn't leaving the truck. So Archimedes says,
you, buddy.
Yeah, you get a weapon. So he said that he just stood there. And apparently good old Ark at last said, fuck this. And he got back in the truck and he put it in reverse and charged this creature. And he said the creature either couldn't or wouldn't budge. He said it seemed like it was having trouble getting over the embankment on the side of the road. So Ark backed up the truck and tried to rush it 3 more times, trying to scare it off so that they could pass. But it wouldn't move. He said suddenly another truck came up from behind him, moving kind of quick. It just went around their truck. And they don't know if they didn't see this creature or they just were like, holy shit, and kept the pedal to the metal. But they just kept going. So even then, the creature just stood there. So him and his homie finally said, fuck it. They had to go. It was getting late, and they actually had to get this shit to where they were going. So that's what they did. They left the freaky Octosquatch standing on the side of the road.
It's probably like, I just wanted to ride, you sons of bitches.
Right? But yeah, I think that's an old alien episode that we covered. But when we did that, I didn't remember it having the moniker of Octosquatch.
I wonder what it is about Spain, because I've got another octopus alien weirdo story from Spain.
From the same city, the Vizcaya, from what I understand.
Yeah. This one happened in 1968, in the August of 1968. There was a farmer by the name of John Matthew, I believe is the way it is said. But John Matthew wakes up early as farmers do, and started his chores for the day. And as he was outside, he's just outside of Tavisa, about 4 miles outside. But he was outside feeding his cattle, doing his daily morning routine, when what he thought was a reflection caught his eye. And he noticed that it wasn't moving, it was just kind of sitting there. So thinking that this was the rising sun's reflection off a car that had broken down, he decided he was going to go out and find, or, see if they needed help. So he gets his dog, they start walking towards this, what he thinks is a broken down car. And the closer he gets, the more he starts wondering, what the hell is that? It doesn't look like a broken down car, but he's still too far away, and eventually gets close enough to see what it is. And he realizes it's not a car. It's not reflecting the light of the rising sun. It's actually an illuminated object that was floating 4 feet off the ground. And he said it resembled half of a watermelon. So I would imagine like a hemisphere, like an oblong hemisphere. But as he was observing this thing, he sees movement on the other side. And the illumination from the craft itself is casting light down into the desert. Or I don't know why. For some reason in my head, I assume it's a desert. It's not a desert. It's just in my head though. That's the way it I've been watching too much Skinwalker Ranch shit lately. But he sees this thing reflecting light onto the ground, and he notices movement on the other side. And what he saw were these, what he said they were about 3 feet tall, and they appeared to be like almost octopoid, but instead of having 8 legs, they had either 4 or 5. He said it was hard to tell because the tentacles that they were walking on were moving so quickly. But he said it was at least 4, but maybe 5, which, if you think about it, would be really weird, because in the animal kingdom, whether you're bipedal or a quadruped, or even insects and arachnids and all other manner of arthropods and things, like you don't have an odd number of limbs unless you lost one in some way,
right?
Or you've or there's something wrong at birth. They're always paired up, so it would, if they had 5 limbs, that would be very, very strange.
Yeah, that's otherworldly anatomy right there.
Yeah, but he said that these beings were extremely disgusting.
Did they fart and burp and spit on the floor?
I don't know. He used the term disgusting to describe them, but he said within a few minutes, or not a few minutes, a few moments, these 2 creatures got back into this weird dome-shaped craft and shot off into the sky. And he said as soon as they shot off in the sky and disappeared, he ended up passing out, and he was missing for a day.
Whoa.
And then he showed up. Yeah, then he showed up, nothing wrong with him. And he has no recollection of what happened after the craft disappeared.
Wow. I didn't know there were so many cases on octopus-like creatures. Honestly, the only one I'd heard of was old Octosquatch.
Yeah, it's weird, but this and there was actual evidence left behind after the event. There were, where this craft was out in the field, it left these scorch marks in the grass. And in looking at the area, there were 2 other scorch marks that appeared to be older than the one that that was most recently seen. And it hasn't been seen since, though. But there was, shortly after that event, there was an Austrian couple who was camping in the area, and they actually saw the scorch marks on the ground as well, and took pictures of it, but the pictures were never published.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like a correlating report from a second source. Yeah. Wow.
Right. Yeah. But I'm wondering, like, let's just, for argument's sake, let's say they're fucking aliens. There's some interesting ideas surrounding octopuses and aliens. There was a paper that, well, for one, there's been studies to suggest that of all animals on Earth, the body of an octopus would be most compatible with space travel.
What?
Because maybe I shouldn't say space travel. Like they would be the most capable if we had living beings inside these UFOs that are doing all these crazy maneuvers that would destroy a human body. The body of an octopus is most likely to be able to handle those maneuvers.
Oh, wow.
For one, because of the pressure they endure in the ocean, and for two, the adaptability and the nature of their flesh, I guess. I don't know. But there was a study that came out recently called Cause of Cambrian Explosion, Terrestrial or Cosmic. And in this paper, they're kind of talking about the origins of life and different theories on what could have caused the first life on Earth. And we've all heard the starseed theory, where life on Earth was created due to viruses or bacteria that came from the stars, or I shouldn't say the stars, but they came from space and found a place on Earth to evolve. And then, from a single-celled organism came multicellular organisms. And then from there, plants and animals developed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that they put out was suggesting that octopuses, because of their weird nature, may have been they may have actually been an animal that was suspended in space, like kind of held in a stasis in the vacuum of space, that then came down to Earth, and I guess upon entering the waters, regained consciousness and began to procreate on Earth. But there's other theories that say that it might be some form of extraterrestrial DNA. And by extraterrestrial DNA, I'm not saying aliens and spaceships coming down, but some sort of DNA somehow arriving on Earth and interacting or combining with the squid that were living here at the time. And through that pairing of this extraterrestrial DNA and the squid DNA, the octopus was born. But the octopus itself is it's a really unique organism. It doesn't go through an evolutionary process in the same way that we see other animals go through. Usually when we see changes in a species, it starts with a genetic mutation, which would be a change in the animal's DNA. And then those changes get translated from the DNA through the RNA. So like if you think of it like the DNA would be like the instructions on what to do to evolve, and then the RNA takes those instructions and puts it into effect. The way that the process works for octopuses is that they're able to do this thing called RNA editing, which means the RNA is able to make adjustments to the organism without having to undergo a mutation. So it can change the way that proteins work in the body, and like almost update the genetic information inside the body without actually mutating the organisms. And what we've seen in studying ancient animals is that traditionally animals that use this RNA editing, it weakens the species and those animals end up dying off. And for some reason, it works with octopuses, and they're able to use it to edit them. I guess edit themselves. Like we can see when you look at different documentaries about octopuses or National Geographic, whatever, we can see, you can actually see them instantly change the structure of their body just at the drop of a hat. They're one thing and then they're another thing. All of a sudden they can change their colors as well, their texture, their shape. And that's not something that we see in the animal kingdom all that often. So that kind of makes them unique there. And there was a study done in 2015 where they were looking at a common squid, because the squids also share this ability to alter their RNA. And they found in a common squid that it had edited more than 60% of the RNA in its nervous system. And in doing these edits, it changed the brain physiology in that animal. And they are kind of speculating why it did this. I think maybe it had to do with temperature conditions where it was living. But then they went back in 2017 and they started studying the same thing in octopuses and cuttlefish. And for people that don't know what the fuck a cuttlefish is, it's not a fish. It's another cephalopod in the same family as squids and octopuses. But they studied 2 species of octopus, 1 species of cuttlefish, and they notice the exact same thing. Up to 60% of the RNA was changed on a regular basis within these animals.
Whoa.
And then they took a look at these other, because somewhere down the line, squids and cephalopods split away from like snails and slugs and things like that. So they looked into seeing if certain species of slugs, that underwater slugs, would have this ability, but they did not. This seems to be an ability that is solely seen in cephalopods, and it's not seen in any other thing in the family except for squid, octopuses, and cuttlefish.
That's some pretty alien physiology.
Right. And then, I mean, look at their intelligence as well. Like there are some people that argue that their intelligence is on par with a human child.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. There's something that I read that in their opinion, they were stating that adult octopus could be as smart as a 4-year-old child.
Right. Yeah. And in the wild, they use tools. There's one species that will use the tentacles of a Portuguese man-o-war as a weapon to catch prey. Yeah. And there's footage that you can just look up on YouTube of this octopus that will walk along the bottom of the floor, the ocean floor around this beach area, and collect coconut shells, which it will then hold with 2 tentacles over its head to use as a portable shelter. And it'll run across the bottom, and if there's a threat, it just ducks down and covers itself with the coconut shell. And then when it's safe, pops back up and continues to run along the floor, holding the coconut shell over its head the whole time.
Oh my God. That's so weird, dude. For some dumb reason, my brain is like, I don't know, like if it does have the intelligence of a 4-year-old child, that's a child that's like in full like commando survival mode.
Right. Yeah. And the captive octopuses, they researchers have given them puzzles to like locked boxes, things like that for them to figure out and get the food prize inside. And they're able to figure it out. There have been octopuses that figure out ways to get out of their tanks. There was one that was, I think we might have talked about it on the show before, but there were fish missing out of this tank, and they couldn't figure out why these fish were missing. And they set up a camera, and what was happening was an octopus figured out a way to get out of his tank across the hall, got out of the tank, climbed into the fish tank, ate the fish, got out, went back into its own tank.
Yeah, I do remember talking about that.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah.
And there's been captive octopuses that'll shoot jets of water to short out lights that are shining in their faces that they don't like.
What?
Like to get jets of water just right out of their tank to take out these lights. They're fucking crazy, man. There's I don't know, man. They're fucking aliens, all right? That's really what I'm saying. We're all aware that octopuses and squids are alive, and now we're talking about them coming out of fucking spacecraft, and I don't think that's don't scoff at that. It's real. It's real, goddammit. And these aliens are coming down, and they just want to know. They're just trying to connect with the octopuses that we have here, but they don't know because they come from space. So they're like, well, we're space octopuses. We don't live in the water. They don't know to search the ocean. They get confused. So they just keep showing up in Spain, and they're like, where's our buddies? And they don't fucking know. They're like, you're a ways off, bud. You're a ways off.
They just show up in Spain expecting the other Octoman to have taken over the Earth by now, and they're like, whoa,
right.
Supposed to be a little bit more along than this. You guys are locked up in aquariums? What the fuck?
Yeah. The hairy one was like that's the warrior kind.
Yeah.
I don't think Octoman is even related to this. I think that's some eldritch horror.
Right.
Completely unrelated. It's just got tentacles, so it's equated to the octopus, but that thing is eldritch horror all day. Whereas these other things are cheeky aliens with octopus legs, and they just want to meet their buddies, their long lost brethren.
Maybe those ones that dude saw next to the spacecraft, they weren't. Maybe he walked in on something. Maybe one of those, that fifth appendage wasn't a tentacle.
Yeah. Maybe one of them did only have 4. Well, maybe they both have 4, but one of them had a 5th one, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why they cut out hella fast when he showed up. They're like,
oh shit, it's the fuzz.
Can't even go to another planet and do this in peace.
I know. It's just a couple of horny alien cephalopod teenagers trying to escape their parents. Like, I know, let's go to Earth and bang one out real quick before my parents recognize we're gone. And they get to Earth, and then some fucking farmer rolls up on him. Like, dude,
hey, Kevin,
car privacy. Little privacy. Come on, guy.
Oh man, the octopus thing is fucking just weird. The description of octo fucking anything to any fucking degree on land to me is instantly means unnatural, maybe even otherworldly. But much like the elephant humanoids we covered a while back, the octo stuff is just fucking weird and doesn't make any fucking sense, and I love it. But I came across one other short little thing. It's real quick. We'll wrap up the show with what they're calling Cactoman.
What?
Yes.
Like Cactor from Final Fantasy? Do they like to run with a perpetual look of being startled?
I don't know. There's an artist depiction of it, and they're more like giant octopuses, like a stump with tentacles on the ground. But
So why is it called Octoman or whatever?
I don't know. I'll tell you the case, and you make up your mind. It's reported by Spain's godfather of ufology.
Whoa, we're in Spain again?
Yep.
Holy fuck.
Dr. Antonio Riba. Described as a lost case, the story is that of a woman in the province of where? Vizcaya, reported seeing a cactus-like creature with 4 limbs that left deep grooves in the dirt as it moved. So I don't know if its arms were up and they just went down and it like kind of just drug its like right side, crawled across the fucking ground.
Or maybe it was slithering with its body and just dragging its tentacles behind it.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. But it left physical evidence in the ground. It left a trail.
Is there proof of this trail?
I don't know. Not anymore.
I want to see the casts.
Cactocast.
Yeah, please. Like, I still don't know why it's called Octoman. Like, what the fuck? Is that like a Spanish word for octopus, maybe?
No, she called it cactus-like.
Cactus-like, but nothing like a cactus.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I don't know. I think that lady is most likely on mushrooms and has no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She's just having a really good trip, and she saw something, and instantly it was like, you know what? That's an octopus, and I'm going to call it a cactus.
Maybe.
Sure. Why not, lady? Why not?
I mean, she undoubtedly knew.
Then again, who am I to talk? I'm the guy who saw a mushroom growing out of the back of a truck.
She undoubtedly knew what octopus was, so, I mean, for her to say it looked like a cactus, I mean, if we're looking at a cactus and an octopus as shapes, if it was an octopus, its tentacles would be holding up its bulb little body, its head. But if it was a cactus, it would be like a stump with appendages coming off of it somewhere in the middle to the top of it. So, I mean, I think that she meant to say cactus. It's not like if it looked like an octopus, she wouldn't have said octopus. It's weird. I'll put I don't know. I'll put an artist depiction of it in the show notes. You'll see what I mean. But that's another one I want to redraw, because how do you draw like a fleshy, limb dragging cactus?
Fleshy cactus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ugh. Sounds gross, though. Fleshy cactus with droopy limbs.
Yeah.
Gross.
See you in my dreams, Cacto Man.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.